Today's webinar from Swift Kanban and Digite is also brought to you by the Agile Marketing Academy and Formula Inc. And the topic of the webinar is Agile Marketing. The agenda for the webinar, we will be going through some quick round of introductions, and I'll talk a couple of minutes about Digite and Swift Kanban, and then hand over the mic to today's main speaker, Maria Matarelli, and she'll be talking on Agile Marketing. And then at the end of the session, we'll have a Q&A session, and hopefully many of you are, keen to learn about Agile Marketing from today's session, and we have a good and a spirited Q&A discussion. Some quick housekeeping rules. The webinar is being recorded, so many of you would, I know, like to get a copy of the recording at the end of the webinar. So the webinar is being recorded, and the slides as well as the recording will be made available after the webinar through a follow-up email. We will take questions via the Q&A box that you'll see on the right side of your screen on that GoToWebinar panel. You can enter your questions anytime during the webinar, and we will take them up as part of the Q&A session at the end. So with that, let me quickly introduce you to our main speaker today. Maria Matarelli is the co-founder of Agile Marketing Academy. She's also the founder and president of Formula Inc. and a certified Scrum trainer. My name is Mahesh Singh. I'm the co-founder and senior vice president of marketing at Digite and Swift Kanban. And I'll be a host today, and I will coordinate the Q&A at the end of the session as well. A little bit about Maria for those of you who don't know her. Maria Matarelli is an international business consultant, published author, and a certified Scrum trainer. And by international, I don't know that you met anybody who's more international than her. I don't know if, Maria, you plan to talk about it in your introduction, but she's probably one of the most widely traveled persons I've ever met in my career and my professional life. And it's an amazing story to listen to her travel schedule and how she managed to keep up with her audiences around the world. She's been applying Agile to marketing realm with some amazing results, and which is how she ended up founding the Agile Marketing Academy. She's one of the first certified Agile marketing trainers, and like I said, she's the founder and president of Formula Inc. And she's achieved a wide variety of industry certifications, and is really passionate about Agile marketing, definitely working with people, and has got some amazing interpersonal skills for all the people that I've met in marketing and other fields in my career. So I'm really excited to have Maria be represented in today's webinar. Before I hand over the microphone to her, let me just quickly tell you who we are. So Digite has been a pioneer in the web-based collaborative products and solutions for distributed teams in general. We are headquartered in Cupertino, California. I'm not sure how many of you are logging in from the West Coast or the Bay Area, but we are right here in the Apple's backyard. And our products are being used around the world with over 700,000 active users at this point using our products. Our products cover lean Kanban, Agile, application lifecycle management, project portfolio management, and general business management of any kind, including marketing. And Swift Kanban is our flagship lean Kanban Agile product that a wide variety of teams use around the world. Just a quick look at the Swift Kanban, and I'm not sure these screenshots do any real justice to what I wanted, ideally be able to present. But obviously, Kanban and Agile are a big play in the software and IT world, and we, of course, have a lot of customers that use this for software development and IT ops and DevOps type of work. We also have a lot of customers that use us for non-IT, non-software functions. So we have some really cool capabilities for marketing teams or legal or HR, construction, manufacturing, a variety of different applications where Swift Kanban gets used. We also have a lot of users, both small companies as well as individuals who have used Swift Kanban for personal situations of all kinds. If you have a large party that's coming up, we have a template for the Thanksgiving party, but you can obviously use it for any kind of personal Kanban purposes as well. One of the key things that of Kanban is known for is the wide range of Kanban analytics that we provide, and a really rich set of tools that we provide here. We work very closely with David Anderson, who's the pioneer in the Kanban method, and he's an advisor to the company. And with his help, we have really dug deep into providing all of the metrics that you typically need to sort of measure your current capability, and then to see how you improve as you start to implement Kanban in a variety of different applications. And then just a quick look at some of our known brand customers. We obviously have many more here, but you recognize a bunch of these names that use Kanban and our other products as well for a wide variety of applications, both in tech as well as non-tech function. So if you're interested in looking at a Kanban or an Agile tool and would like to give us a chance, just go to our website and there is a free trial of the product that's available for Kanban. You can sign up and just start to use it. We'd be happy to answer any questions from you if you do decide to do that. So with that, let me go ahead and transfer this control to Maria. Maria, a very warm welcome to you.
Thank you, Mahesh. Good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing today? Please go ahead and type in your chat window where you're calling in from. All right, great to see everyone here. We're excited to talk about Agile marketing today. This is something that we've been noticing is getting more and more interest in the industry, because what's happening is that people are seeing that they're trying to scale Agile throughout their company, throughout their department, and what they're finding is that they're having challenges. And what we thought was, hey, what if we go more specific into a specific department and speak their language? So over the last couple of years, I've been working with Nick Cementa, who has a very strong background in advertising and marketing, and we put together some concepts that we thought would work with helping companies start to apply Agile to their marketing. And we started to see some incredible results. So that's what I'll share with you today, and we'll actually walk through a case study as well about a company that has started using Agile applied to their marketing and some incredible results that they've seen from that. When we look at Agile marketing, what's the goal? Well, you may have heard Jeff Sutherland talk about doing twice the work in half the time with Scrum, and that's really what businesses are looking for. They're wanting to get twice the results in half the time. So in the market today, as we look at all of the different technology solutions, apps that are coming up, companies cannot afford to wait to innovate. They cannot afford to take longer to get their products out to market. So we've been spending years, in fact decades, applying Agile and applying Scrum to product development and software development. And we're doing that in how we create the products, but what about how we get the product out to market? Now, when you look at getting that message out, what we're really doing is we're talking about how can we get, let's say we can reach twice the customers in half the time, or twice the customers with half the budget. So it's the same concept, applying Agile to be more effective in how we work into how we market. But there's a couple of very specific things we'll walk through on how you can start to apply these things and these concepts to get results. So when we talk about Agile marketing, we want to focus on the customer relationships that carry the most value. We also want to adopt an iterative process for fast results and sustainable growth. Now, some of the clients that we've worked with over the last couple of years, we found that they have multiple challenges surrounding how they get their product launched out to the market and how people find out about that, how they create awareness about their product. And what we found is that there's two big challenges that a lot of companies have faced. One is they don't have the right message to market match. So they're saying here's the benefits, but we're not actually truly connecting with the ideal customer. And the other biggest challenge we've seen is that the cycle for campaigns run way too long. So we might have a marketing campaign that runs for a couple of months, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, and not really know the return on those dollars being spent. So by using this iterative approach, what that's going to allow us to do is do those short iterative cycles where we can inspect and adapt and see where we need to change. And if we're really focusing on the customer relationships that carry the most value, that's going to allow us to truly connect with that ideal customer. And the difference there is finding people that truly need our product rather than just people that we're trying to sell to. Also, we want to organize our marketing into different channels, from filtering, educating, and active selling. Because if we just try to get people to buy our product on the first touch point, that's not necessarily the most effective. We want to really specifically reach out to our potential customers in a specific way depending on who they are, depending on who that specific persona is. And with Agile Marketing, we also want to create the systems and messaging to find and nurture your ideal customers. And this is important because as we're looking at having that message to market match, if we aren't nurturing the customers, if we're just trying to sell them the first time that they see something that we're offering, that will probably decrease our conversion. But if you can build that relationship with the customer and share with them how your product or service meets their need and nurture them along, that's going to build that relationship that will having them coming back and buying more. Let me share a little bit more about my background. My name is Maria Matarelli, and I'm a certified Scrum trainer, and I travel all over the world teaching individuals and organizations how to work more effectively. I consult through Formula Inc. based in Chicago. We have an office in Tampa. And last year, we started discovering that Agile applied to marketing is really powerful, and co-founded the Agile Marketing Academy. Now, my background was in traditional project management, but before that, my major was actually marketing. So I had studied marketing, and I thought it was fascinating, just learning how you can connect with buyers, connect with their needs, what type of ways can you communicate more effectively to promote a product or to have a service that you're promoting. And what's interesting is that when you think about it, marketing skills you can apply in just about anything, whether it's in how you're working, whether it's you're working toward a promotion, you're marketing yourself a lot, as you're building your career. So I always thought that those are some skills that could be carried forward into just about anything. Better communication, better teamwork, being able to understand people's needs. And then working in project management, I manage large projects, and you may have done this as well. You may be familiar with planning out large projects that they span several months, sometimes even years, and doesn't always seem like the most efficient. So I started using lean processes, specifically with Six Sigma. And after using Six Sigma, I became a green belt and started working with a company's cost-saving initiatives to streamline processes and reduce defects and increase quality for the products that we delivered. Please go ahead and connect with me on social media. Connect with me, find me by Maria Matarelli, and feel free to tweet throughout this presentation as well, at Maria Matarelli, #Agile Marketing. Let's go ahead and explore a little bit more about Agile Marketing. So why would we go into this specific niche? Well, an Agile organization's goal is really to achieve true agility. And when you look at true agility, how can a company truly be agile when the only department that's agile is IT? We hear this all the time, the IT initiative. It's the Agile initiative for a company to scale, but it's so broad that sometimes we start to lose how each department can connect with that message. So when we go specifically into the marketing department and speak their language, now we can connect more deeply and connect a bridge across the organization. Over the past several years, I've had the opportunity to travel quite a bit from a variety of different countries, to work with a variety of different companies and industries. And one of the things that I noticed that you might not be surprised by is that all of these companies across all of these different locations all have similar challenges. Regardless the geographic location, regardless the industry, they all have similar challenges. And we've seen the Agile reports. You may be familiar with the State of Agile Survey that version 1 does every year. And they look at, what are the challenges that companies face? And I just want to highlight a couple of the reasons that they found that companies adopt Agile. And two of the large reasons include accelerating product delivery and improving business and IT alignment. And when you look at these challenges, this happens when we're trying to get that product out to market, but how effective are we truly being if we're more agile in how we're developing that product, yet we go to launch it and we now enter this traditional marketing campaign cycle? We've suddenly lost a lot of that momentum because we went from being very fast and very adaptive to entering the traditional way that we bring products to market. With Agile Marketing, we can help to bridge that gap. We can also start to create common language patterns between how we work and between the business and IT. There's so many different Agile approaches, and as you may know, back in 2001, that's when all of these software developers came together and said, hey, what are these common values? And they created the Agile Manifesto. And as you look at the different Agile approaches, there's something that's in common with all of these. And the things that they have in common are really those core values and principles, focusing on delivering working product over comprehensive documentation, individuals and interactions, being able to collaborate rather than only following process, collaborating with our customers instead of just focusing on what the contract said, and always looking at how to adapt and respond to change over following a plan. So these are all things that we want to carry forward in how we market so that we have that momentum carried all the way through for full business agility end to end. A couple of years ago, we started working with a company that was selling a product. And this was a chart, so this actual screenshot of their growth in revenue. Now my question to you is this good growth? Yeah, many of you may look at this chart and say, wow, yeah, they had a huge spike, and then, there were a couple of dips, but it went down, up, but it is on an upward trend. In fact, the trend is still higher than it had been in the past. So of course there's some dips to be expected. The company might be thrilled with this type of explosive growth to start. But what's interesting is that when you don't have context, it's hard to really tell, is this really the best growth? When you pull back and look at the bigger picture, what might have seen as good growth, actually over a year, when you look at it in context, it starts to stagnate. It looks like we've kind of plateaued. Can a company afford in the industry, in the market today, to not grow, to stay fairly stable, hit that ceiling, and really just kind of plod forward? Not really. It's a really challenging market out there now. So at this point, if we've hit that plateau, we launched the product, but overall we failed to connect with their true client base because we've only hit so many clients and then it stopped. So what we started doing is we started applying Agile to how this company marketed. And the incredible thing that we saw was actual explosive growth, not just what appeared to be high growth, but actual rapid increase in output. And what we saw was within 6 months there was more than 300% increased revenue, and within a year there's more than 780% increase in the company revenue. Now this is something that I think many companies would love to have. We see these stories, we hear about companies using Agile and increasing their productivity, increasing their speed to market, their increased output, increased quality. And we hear these incredible results in product development and software development and sometimes other industries. But what about how we take that product to market? So as you look here, this is an actual screenshot from our client in their sales, and having that vertical revenue, that's the type of results that we would expect to see applying Agile to marketing from all that we know of what is capable from using Agile. Would you like to hear more about how we got that incredible increase in output? This company was a company that sold acid-free coffee. And they started off that first graph, that chart that we showed, they started off just saying, hey, here's the benefits of our product. Here's how you can be healthier. This can help you because it's acid-free. This is a great alternative. Are you gluten-free? Are you living a healthy lifestyle? You may want to consider our coffee. Now, the challenge with that is that they're just talking about some benefits, and they're pretty general. Also, when they were looking at who they were marketing to, they thought, well, everybody could be a customer for our product. Anybody could benefit from being healthier. And the challenge with trying to be everything to everybody is sometimes you're not anything to anyone because you're not truly connecting with those customers. You're not truly connecting on the need. So the blanket benefit statement wasn't really that effective. Yeah, they got an initial surge of sales, but they sort of plateaued over time. So what we said was, what if we really dove into what's the real problem we're trying to solve? And if we really dig deep into that and look at the value of our solution, we went through 15 crucial questions to uncover this. And then we started writing user stories for each need that hit each specific type of person and their need, and then also address specific whys or help certain problems of theirs go away. And as we started running short campaigns online to test the interest, we started seeing something incredible. If you were looking at these results from these 5 initial campaigns that we ran off of specific personas and user stories, my question to you is, where would you put your marketing dollars? Now, is that an obvious answer here? It looks like number 3, campaign 3, would be probably where we'd like to spend our attention. So what were these campaigns? Well, as we sat down and really dug deep into the problem we were trying to solve, what we found was that people that needed acid-free coffee were not just people trying to be a little bit healthier. The people that need acid-free coffee are people that have physical ailments, people that are really getting pain when they drink coffee because they're having a physical reaction to it. So what we did is we put together some very short campaigns that we ran, just a very short split test to just see what the interest would be. We started off, the first campaign was for people that had Crohn's. The second one was for people with colitis. The third was people with ulcers. The fourth was pylori. And then we split test that against campaign number 5, which was just a free sample with sign up. Now, the first and second ones, we probably don't even want to mess with that. The messaging did not connect with our ideal audience. Now, the fourth and fifth ones, if you look at that, that's not terrible, but that's where we've been. Approximately 1,000 responses. Well, that's that plateau we were talking about. Now, when we put together the messaging for people that had ulcers, what we found was that there were a lot of people out there that not only had this problem, but they were still drinking coffee because that's all that they knew how to get through their day. And these were often executives, business owners, people in high stressful jobs, and they had to get up early and they had to get through the day. And their routine had been coffee, their habit or addiction was coffee, and they had to have that cup of coffee. So even though they had ulcers, they were highly stressed, they still drank coffee and had pain because that was something they did to get through their day. Now, how many of you drink coffee and drink coffee regularly, and could you even imagine not being able to drink coffee? What would your day be like? Now, you may not drink coffee. I personally don't drink coffee. I do like coffee-flavored ice cream. I will say that. That's delicious. But I've never really gotten onto coffee. But I know people that drink coffee. And I know people that if they don't have their coffee in the morning, their day is one that you might not want to be a part of. Now, can you think of someone that you might know that if they didn't have their coffee, that could be a very not pretty situation? Yeah. We all may know someone like that. So what we found was these are people that truly need our product. These people truly need acid-free coffee. And the response was incredible. We had more than 600% increased response from this short test that we put online. So had we not taken the time to go through those 15 crucial questions and looked at the problem we're trying to solve and the value of the solution, well, then we wouldn't have truly been able to uncover what might be the real need here. And not only that, if we then just ran off creating the traditional marketing campaign, put a lot of time and effort into that, well, then we wouldn't really know the response. But by doing short iterative tests based off of user stories, we were able to find with minimal effort, minimal time invested, we're able to get a quick response to see what can we adjust, what can we inspect and adapt to get a more effective result in our campaign when we do launch the full campaign. With Agile Marketing, we want to be light and fast and flexible. That's really the goal of being Agile, right? We want to be able to adapt, make different decisions, look at changing things in the market, and be able to respond to that. When we look at how we approach Agile Marketing, we use the Heart of Agile framework created by Alistair Cockburn. You may know Alistair Cockburn because he was one of the original creators of the Agile Manifesto. He was there in 2001 as they wrote the 4 values and 12 principles for the Agile Manifesto that has become the core foundation for several Agile approaches that are used today. People that are using this mindset and how they work. And as you look at different scaling frameworks out in the industry right now, the challenge is that a lot of these frameworks have gotten very complex. And I was speaking with Alistair last year about this, and he said, Maria, this is not what we intended. We never intended for this to be so complicated. We didn't expect that there would be a manual that's an inch thick or 2 inches thick telling people how to do Agile. That wasn't really the point. It's supposed to be light, fast, and flexible. And so Alistair created the Heart of Agile, which is getting us back to the core. So it starts with collaborate. We need to collaborate around what is it that we're trying to do. That's how we want to work as a team. Then we want to deliver. And we want to have a short cycle for when we deliver. Because we want to make sure that whatever we do, we can get quick feedback and then make any adjustments. Then we want to reflect. Because if we don't take the time to reflect, how can we improve? And after we've reflected, that's exactly what we want to do, is we want to make some small change, some small adjustment, and see if that's better. So with the Heart of Agile, we want to go through this cycle to collaborate, deliver, reflect, and improve. And we can actually go through this cycle and how we're building the campaigns, and then we can iterate through that as we have each targeted campaign that we run. So by applying the Heart of Agile framework to using Agile Marketing, it is a seamless fit. So it's a simple framework for how we approach applying Agile on the marketing side. So let's look at running the campaign. We start with a user story. Now, what's kind of funny, or maybe not funny at all, is when I first started bringing Nick to some of my Agile classes. I was like, hey, Nick Cementa is here in Chicago. I was here in Chicago. We had some mutual clients. We started working together. I said, hey, would you like to work with me at Formula Inc. and help with some business development? You've got a background in marketing and advertising. And he's like, yeah. So I said, well, here, let me show you what Agile's all about. And so I brought him to one of my training classes. And one really hilarious takeaway is Nick was doing a podcast with a friend of his not too long after, and he said, oh, so what was that like? You were in the corporate world all day, all week. What was that like? And Nick said, okay, well, what happened was we got a bunch of people from this company from a couple of different departments, and we put them in the same room, and these are people that have never even met each other in like 10, 15, 20 years that work together. So we put them in the same room and had them talk to each other. And as I was watching this podcast and webinar, I started cracking up, and I was like, wow, is that the outside looking in perspective? Because that's what happened. It was a product owner class, and there were people from the business side that had never talked to the people and the IT side. Like they had emails exchanged. Maybe they did speak on the phone once or twice. They never actually talked in person. They never actually connected face to face. And these are people working in the same building. And it was like absolutely fascinating to think about that. The other thing that came out of this was when I talked about the user story, Nick almost seemed irritated. And he was like, not real mad, like almost like pretend mad, but he's like, why has nobody told us about this? Like, why did nobody tell the marketing department that these things existed? So here we have our IT teams writing these eloquent user stories of what features exist, who they're for and why, and then we develop the feature, pass it over the fence to marketing, and say, okay, now figure out how to market this. And he's like, you mean you had this the whole time? You had this user story talking about who the features were for and how they benefited them, and nobody told marketing that? I was like, oh, wow. I never thought about that. So when we look at the user story, the classic format of as a who, I need what so that why, applying this to marketing, the slight shift that we make is as we think of our ideal customer and then we present our solution, we want to think about how does that make their problems go away. So not just at the specific feature level, but at the higher level, who are we targeting, which personas, or which persona are we targeting first? What aspect of the solution are we going to highlight? And how does that make their problems go away? And when you really think about this deeply, and you start to write user stories for different personas, maybe highlight different aspects of the solution, and really look at addressing specific challenges that customer has and addressing why that helps them and helps their problem be fixed, what we started to see was that this was all we needed to do a very short test. And when we ran those short tests for the coffee company, that's when we discovered that the free sample was okay. Pylori got a little response. The two others on the left, don't want to put any more attention there. But campaign number 3, the ulcers, that was exactly where we wanted to put all of our attention because that was the biggest need that the customer had. When you really look at the need and you go deep into the need, that's where people start to buy because people buy based off of emotion. You may have heard the phrase, facts tell, stories sell. Because when you just present facts or just benefits, that's nice and all. But we're living in the type of environment where there's so much information everywhere. People are trying to weed through it. People are getting so many notifications a day, so many emails a day, it's hard to keep up. But when we can connect on emotion, when we can truly connect with a real need, that's when you get the most effective response. Can you think of a product that you saw? When you saw it, you instantly knew you had to have it. It didn't matter how much it cost. It didn't matter really where you were, how to get it. You just knew you had to have it. You needed it. We just ran an Agile Marketing class in Seattle about a month ago. And we ran it at the WikiSpeed headquarters with Joe Justice, who you may know is using Scrum to build cars, breaking world records with extreme manufacturing. And what was interesting is we had a person there from the state of Washington government. And we were talking about this exact specific thing. And we were talking about, what is a product that you've seen that you knew you had to have? And the specific guy said, I'm busy, I've got this job, I spend a lot of my time focusing it. We're bringing Agile to government, holacracy to government, and a lot of my time and attention is spent there. And one day he saw an ad, and it was for this, what looked like a credit card, but you could actually store multiple credit cards on this one card so that you simply like moved a little tab and you could pay with different credit cards, but all you had to do was carry one card. And he said, as soon as I saw that, that was something I knew I needed because the simplicity that it just brought, the convenience that it brought to my life was a no-brainer. And as soon as he mentioned that, someone else in the class said, what? That exists? I need that. Where did you buy it? Don't even care how much it is. How do I get it? So when you have a product and you're specifically targeting who needs it, that busy professional, that important executive, like when you can specifically hone in on their needs and how to solve for those needs, that's when it's suddenly we're not selling, we're just fulfilling needs. So we start with the user story in marketing. We start by looking at who is that ideal customer, what aspect of our solution can we emphasize, but how can that make their problem go away? But specifically, what stories can we write that we can then do a short test off of to even see if there's any interest at all? The things we want to look at are some specific details about our customers. Where are they? Where are they located? Who are they? What type of people are we marketing to? What are they doing? What types of things are in their habits? Where do they go? What do they do? And what do they like? So when you look at these specific questions, we're actually looking at location, behaviors, interests, and demographics. Now, does this sound familiar to anyone? Think about social media platforms. Think about social media platforms that you may use. What about Facebook, for example? How many people check in to where they are? How many people fill out their profile of where they work and what they do? How many people check in when they arrive at a specific place or they say what they're doing? When they go to a conference, when they post pictures from an event or a concert? How many people like things all day long? How many people like and share? How many people make purchases from Facebook? How many people click on links? All of that is data that is being tracked. So when you're doing online marketing, what we're finding is that you can get very specific at exactly who these people are, what interests them, where they go, and what they like. And with our ability to market online today, we can very quickly validate assumptions and clarify assumptions that we've made that we're not sure about, hypotheses that we might have. So we can get very specific on who we're trying to reach out to, but it's helpful if we have an idea of what the specific benefit is to them. And we can pick 3, 4, 5 different personas and market to them and set a time box for that first campaign and then see, hey, what was that response? Which campaigns worked? Which ones do we never want to do again? I'm curious if you've ever heard of the Done Manifesto. Many of you may be familiar with the Agile Manifesto. There is actually even an Agile Marketing Manifesto. And that's been around by a group of people that put it out there several years ago. When I saw it one day, I was so excited because it had existed. People have been talking about this, but also I agreed with everything that they said. Now, what's really interesting is when you look at the Done Manifesto, this really gets to the heart of why we need to get things to completion. How Agile helps us to really shift how we work. So in the Done Manifesto, it says that there are 3 states of being: not knowing, action, and completion. So notice that we simply go from not knowing anything to doing something and then it being completed, which means we don't want to spend time researching, hypothesizing. I mean, yeah, maybe a little bit, but not a lot of time. We want to get into action as soon as possible. You want to look at, okay, what are the options and explore that or brainstorm it just long enough to put something into action to get something to done. Because we're not getting any productivity sitting there in progress. Also, accept that everything is a draft because it helps to get it done. Do we have any perfectionists out there? Yes, my hand is raised as well, because I've had so many things, and we all may have experienced this at different times, where something you don't put it out there, you don't finish it because it's just not quite right. It's not perfect. But perfection is the enemy of done. Accept that everything is a draft because you can always come back and iterate on it later. This will help you get something to an incremental point of done, that minimum viable product, to at least test and get feedback. There is no editing stage. Just do something, put it out there, and get feedback, because that is so much more valuable than guessing. This one here is one of my favorites. Pretending you know what you're doing is almost the same as knowing what you are doing. So just accept that you know what you are doing, even if you don't, and do it. Think about that for a minute. Have you ever seen somebody that looked like they just had everything under control? But have you ever talked to somebody who you thought had everything under control, and they said that they did not have everything under control? A very excellent example of this. I was watching a TV show a few years ago, and I believe it was Chopped was the show. It's a cooking show. You may have seen it. And there was this younger guy that was in this cooking competition. So they have 3 or 4 people, and they give them a random basket full of different ingredients. And they have to cook with whatever's in that basket and make a 3-course meal. There's 3 different baskets they get for each course. And they have to cook with whatever is in that basket, whether they're easy to cook with, whether it's a good combination or not. And they must use every ingredient. And the first basket had eel in it. And I believe that this one chef, he had not had much experience cooking with eel. And with the other items in the basket, he really didn't know how to combine them. So he ended up making a soup. So he just blended some things together. He put the eel in the soup, but then he didn't really know how to cook it, so he ended up taking the eel out of the soup. But because it had been in the soup, he called it, it had something fancy name, with eel essence. And they let him slide by, but he almost didn't get through that because the eel wasn't actually in the soup, but it was sort of in the soup, but it was there for the flavor and then taken out. But the best part about all of this is they had interviewed each of the contestants, and they narrated what they were thinking as they were cooking. So they were showing him cooking, and then they'd cut to an interview, and he was talking about what he was thinking. And he said, I have no eel. What do I do with that? I have no idea what I'm doing. Okay, I guess maybe I should put it in. Oh, this probably will taste terrible. It's not even really cooked. I don't even know how to cook this, so let me just take it out. Oh, crap. I have no idea what I'm doing. Keep it together, right? So we were hearing kind of all the internal dialogue. And what was fascinating is that he looked cool as a cucumber on the outside, presented his eel essence soup, and then proceeded on to the last round and even into the final round. So pretending that you know what you're doing is almost the same as knowing what you're doing, because it appears to other people that you know what you're doing. So what we're saying here is just accept the fact that you know what you're doing, even if you don't, and just do it, because that is the best way to learn. The best way to learn is through doing. Banish procrastination. If you wait more than a week to get an idea done, abandon it. Now that's interesting and possibly even a little bit harsh sounding. Abandon an idea because you waited on it? Well, think about all of the work in progress that you might have that's stalled out. Stuff that you at one point thought, hey, maybe we should do this, and then you never quite got around to it. And when you don't quite get around to something, how much does that weigh on your subconscious? How much does that take away from being productive? Because you got all of this stuff that you should be doing and feel overwhelmed. Now, what if we specifically said, okay, I didn't do that thing, so maybe it's not as a good idea as I thought, or at least I didn't prioritize it enough. Let me get it out of my central view, put it back on the backlog, but maybe even clear that and say, what is the thing that I can truly focus on getting done? Not just things that would be nice to get done, not just aspirations, but actually just getting things done. The point of being done is not to finish, but to get other things done. Now that's interesting. I was at the Agile and Beyond conference a couple of years ago, and I heard a presentation about talking about being a learning organization. And Matt Barcombe was presenting, and he said that if you are trying to learn a new skill, say, for example, a new coding language for a developer, and let's say that in your spare time, you are learning how to play the guitar. Now, these two things may appear to be completely unrelated. In fact, they may be completely unrelated. But there have been studies that show that if you were to, for example, learn to play a guitar, that actually could help you as you're learning a new coding language because you're in this mode of learning, and there's momentum that comes with that. So as you are getting into that momentum of learning and growing, that's helping you to become, you're starting to build that learning mindset, that openness to new ideas. Train yourself to try new things. And that can start to get momentum in other things. And you can start to build a learning organization in the culture. So similarly, if you look at the point of being done is not to finish, but to just get other things done, just start getting stuff done to build the momentum. How often have we seen this happen where we have a team that's new to using Agile and they may not have delivered anything in years, months, maybe years, and just getting something done, that feeling of completion, that feeling of accomplishment can lead to a momentum that starts to become a ripple effect. So think about that momentum. Once you're done, you can throw it away. So get something done, try it. If it doesn't work, try something else. That's okay. It gets back into that approach to say that it's okay to try, it's okay to fail. Fail equals learn. In fact, laugh at perfection. It's boring and keeps you from being done. If you've ever failed at something, is it something you can laugh at? Is it something that went so horribly wrong that it's like, oh, well, hey, look at what I've learned from that. I know several business owners that have been there where, you know, hey, that was a completely terrible idea, complete waste of time, energy, effort, money, resources, and now we'll never do that again. Because if we focus on it and dwell upon it, that's not helping us move forward. But if we can learn from it, if we can inspect, reflect upon what wasn't working, and then adapt and improve what we're doing, that's helpful. In fact, some may say that failing is actually better than just sort of plodding along and not learning at all. Doing the same thing you've always done is probably going to get you the same result. People without dirty hands are wrong. Doing something makes you right. So what we're saying here is that when people haven't done anything themselves, they really can't validate any opinions. They may have an opinion on something or say, oh, I don't think. Well, but you haven't done, so think doesn't really have that much clout here. If you've done something, anything, that makes you right because you have some empirical data to build off of, some empirical data that you can reference, right? Failure counts as done, so do mistakes. I like this one. It gets back to, it's okay if it wasn't ragingly successful. Imagine if our first Agile Marketing campaign was just with those first two, Crohn's and colitis. And if we got absolutely zero response, well, what do we do? Now that didn't work. It failed. That didn't matter at all. I had someone that went through our Agile Marketing training course online in our online platform last year. And she went through it and she came back and she said, Maria, I just don't know if this stuff works. I was like, well, what do you mean? I was really concerned. I was alarmed. And she said, well, I ran a campaign and I got no response. I was like, okay, wait, you ran one campaign? Just one? That's it? And then you stopped? I was like, oh, well, okay. That's interesting because you remember that circle, that cycle, it goes another time around and another time around. That's the part where that might have been missed was you have to iterate. You have to continue going through it. You got absolutely no response? Awesome. That means we never want to do that again. That means that messaging and that audience and that why is not connecting. So we learned something. Now let's make an adjustment. Let's try something else. Failure counts as done. Do mistakes because the more mistakes you can get, the more you can learn until you start to get it right. Then stop doing the other mistakes and start doing the thing that's working. So you may have heard in sales, people say, well, you have this many no's to get to a yes. So every no, I want to hear another no because every no gets me closer to the next yes. Same concept. Destruction is a variant of done. If you have an idea and publish it on the internet, that counts as a ghost of done. So what this means is, let's say you've been wanting to put together a presentation. Let's say you've been wanting to write a book. Let's say you've been wanting to publish an article. And all of these things may seem like they take a lot of time and attention that you don't have. Well, what about a simple blog post? What about a quick video clip? People are going live on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. People are publishing short video clips these days. Well, if you have an idea, publish it online. Put something out there. Start to spread it. You don't have to have everything fully crystallized and at a level of perfection to even put it out there into the world. So think about what's the simplest thing that could possibly work. What's something that I could do that could get a result? And this is the mindset shift that we need to have. So I really like the Done Manifesto because it really helps us to focus on these core things. Because done is the engine of more. The more that you get things done, the more momentum you start to get. You can apply this into anything of how you work, but we really want to think about this in marketing as well, because I feel like in marketing we tend to be a bit more perfectionist than in some other areas, because this is our brand, this is our reputation, this is our lifeline to the world, right? Is what people read about us, how they see us, how they view us. So the Done Manifesto, I've started thinking about these things and it's really helped me in some different areas. I want to encourage you to just pick one or two of these areas and think about what could you start to, write it down, put it in front of you. What could become your mantra to help you get things done faster? Because the more that you do, the more that you have to reflect on and then look at how to improve. We want to be gathering data as we run our campaigns because this helps us to make decisions. This is information to make decisions with. Looking at what's the cost of our customer acquisition? What does it cost for us to make a sale? How many ad dollars do we need to spend before we get a conversion? We were working with a company about 1.5 years ago where they were selling a product and they had some pretty good sales. They were doing advertising online. They were using internet ads. They're doing radio and television. They had multiple different channels. And I said, okay, well, how much are you spending on radio per month? And he said $14,000. I was like, wow, that's a lot of money. You must be getting great results from it. I said, okay, what's the cost of customer acquisition? For every dollar spent in radio ads, how many customers have you gotten from that? And what do you think the answer was? Sadly, yeah, he didn't know. They didn't know. They weren't even tracking that. That could be as simple as putting a different phone number that people called off the radio versus off of a TV ad versus using a link on a website or a different phone number on the website. If we don't have the data, then how can we make decisions off of that? So we're pretty much shooting blind. If you have these long campaigns, if you're not getting the feedback, if you're not analyzing the data, well, how do we know if we're doing the right thing? In reflection, we want to look at what went well and what could be better. So really taking that time to reflect is so key, as we know from Agile, and it's no different in marketing. As we look at what we're doing, we want to either improve it, or if it is working, use it, or if it's not working, lose it. If something's not working, stop. Just stop it. Because it's not going to help. It's not getting us the results. We don't want to dump a lot of time and energy and effort and resources into something that's not working. But we want to learn this as soon as we can. We want to make that decision with information that makes sense. When we look at the Agile marketing approach, you may have heard of the concept of a funnel in marketing, an online funnel. So we look at the users online, And with a funnel, you want to just give them something small of value that may encourage them to take action into a next step. So maybe you say, here's a free case study. Enter your email to get this case study. Then from there, you send a couple of emails, and then you say, hey, we're doing a webinar. Would you like to join us? They sign up for the webinar. At the end of the webinar, you might hear someone say, hey, we've got this program. It's only $97. You can get whatever this is that we talked about that could help you that you signed up for. Okay, $97. Yeah, that's not that expensive. Okay, I could probably buy that. You buy the $97 product. Then you come back and you hear, hey, we're doing an in-person seminar about this. Would you like to join us in person? That might be $1,000. So that's an example of an internet funnel. The funnel says, okay, who's out there? What's some value we can show them? And then we start to weed out people that aren't truly interested in our products until we get real buyers that are highly warm leads that we can start to sell to. So we want to get from the internet users to active customer. Now the difference in the Agile marketing approach is we build the funnel from the middle out. So we're filtering people, we're educating them, we're presenting the offer, and then from these people we're actively selling them. But from that first time they land on that page, that website page, we're constantly looking at their location, demographics, interests, and behaviors, and we're cycling through that as we capture their information, retarget them with ads, maybe do a drip campaign in email, give them something of value like a lead magnet, and cycle through that until we get them to make a purchase or have a qualified lead to turn them into an active customer. So what we're doing here is we're truly cycling through and constantly going back to that user story saying, hey, this who, what, why, is this effective? Yes, no? Okay. Use it, improve it, or lose it, right? And we're constantly cycling through to make sure that we're targeting the right people with the right message for maximum output. I mentioned that the Agile marketing framework is built using the Heart of Agile. So when you look at collaborating, delivering, reflecting, and improve, at its core, at the heart of what Agile is, this is what we're trying to do. So as we collaborate, we're writing user stories. We're brainstorming who is it that we want to market to, what's the specific thing that they need, and how does this help their problems go away? Which is why we dive so deeply into the problem we're trying to solve and the value of the solution so that we can put out these short tests on our hypothesis of what's going to be the right messaging. We then deliver using a funnel, and we run targeted campaigns. We might split test and see, which campaign is going to be effective. Let's first do just something very short to gauge interest off the user story before we build out an entire campaign. Then let's split test that. But we want to review the data before we start split testing things. We want to see what's empirical evidence of what the interest is, what the response is, what people are thinking. As we reflect, as we're reviewing that data, that's when we improve. And we try something new, making one targeted change at a time as we split test. So we're running through this cycle, collaborating, delivering, reflecting, and improving, and we're applying the Agile concepts and specific techniques as we market in these short cycles. And this is going to help us to reflect and make sure that we have the right campaign before we start dumping that $10,000 budget every month into it. Because essentially, if I could put $1 in and get $10 back, I would make that deal every time. What about you? If you could put $1 in and get $10 back, would you make that deal? Absolutely. So as we start to run through this cycle and this approach, we can start to get empirical data that shows us exactly what to do. And with the coffee company, when we got our cost of customer acquisition and we started getting residual income from those customers, we started to say, wait a minute, we now can actually calculate how many dollars we spend on our marketing campaign and how many dollars are going to come into that. You can start to get that down to a science to where it's essentially almost printing money. You're putting a certain amount in and you're getting that money back because you've taken the time up front to fine-tune and target who truly needs your product and the specific messaging that really connects with them. So in a nutshell, this is the Agile marketing approach. It goes a lot deeper, but as an overview, here are some core concepts that I wanted to share with you today. You may be working at a company now where you may be working on projects where you're developing products. You may be a coach, you may be a trainer, you may be somebody that consults other companies on how to be more effective in how they work using Agile. You may want to start to introduce these concepts to help bridge the gap between the business and IT, to help your company or organization embrace true business agility and full agility end to end, from product creation to marketing. Thank you so much for joining me today. It was awesome to share with you this approach and the things that we've been discovering in applying Agile to marketing. And I'd like to share with you some additional resources. If you thought this was interesting, if you would like to hear more, I'd like to invite you to go to agilemarketingcertification.com/case study. And here you'll find more information about some of the companies that we've worked with, some of the other companies that have applied Agile marketing, some other applications of Agile outside of IT that have been incredible. And there's an opportunity, if you'd like to learn more, you can get more information there. So please, go to agilemarketingcertification.com/case study to learn more about how we've been seeing Agile marketing be effective. And if you'd like to have a follow-up conversation on how you might start to apply these techniques in your industry. Thank you everyone for joining us today as we talked about Agile marketing. It's been incredible to see the results that customers are getting and clients are getting applying this approach. And now we'd like to open up the floor for questions. If there's any questions that you have, please feel free to type in the chat window.
Maria, that was a great talk and a very enthusiastic presentation from me, I should say. Clearly, this is something that's been working for you and your clients, and the results of that are very apparent in the way that you presented this talk. So, excellent. Thank you very much. I'll invite all the people in the audience to ask any questions that you might have. So, Maria, let me ask you something to start with. In general, do you see any sort of a trend in terms of which industries might be adopting Agile marketing more than others? Do you see any sort of a pattern there? Or is it applicable across different industries, B2C, B2B?
Great question, Mahesh. Yeah, we're seeing interest in companies that they're trying to do this scaling thing, right? And they're trying to get the different departments all Agile, but they're out of sync. So it really does apply across any industry. But we've had some interest from financial institutions. We've had companies that they have that clear bottom line that they're trying to meet, and we've had a lot of interest from business owners. So companies that are just trying to get their product out there more. We've had a variety of industries, anywhere from the trucking industry to dentists to we have products, resell products and retail. So it's really incredible to see the interest, but really a big thing that stood out has been banks and financial institutions.
Okay, that's I would never have guessed that. I mean, I would think that typically you might have maybe the high-tech organizations because they're more familiar with Agile, or consumer industries or small businesses where there is a greater pressure to succeed in marketing and to get the message out and to get your sales moving. So banks and financial institutions, that's amazing. So let's take some audience questions. There'll be a bunch of them here. So first question is, who is responsible for writing user stories? Is it the developers or the marketing, which is copywriters?
Great question. So who writes the user stories? Well, in the development teams, usually the product owner will meet with stakeholders and present the team with the highest priority features. They may or may not use user story format. Depends on which Agile approach they're using. And so usually we might see the product owner come to the team with features, and they may come to them with user story format, or they may not. They may have simply high-level features, and then the team members will break down those into stories. So we've seen that happen, and you might have different people on the team that have different skills. So you might have business analysts that have a very strong skill set for decomposing requirements that might help out a little bit more. You might have a team that's more self-organizing. Now, with marketing, it's a different department, right? So as the IT team is writing the stories, either the team or the product owner, then once they have a product ready, they're giving that to marketing. But what we're finding is that there's a lot more power if there's communication, steady communication. So if we can actually have the teams and the marketing teams, the development team and the marketing teams in communication, that can help us where we're starting to do these short tests while we're still developing the product. We don't have to completely finish developing a product in order to gauge the interest in the market. Even in the internet marketing space, you may hear people actually develop products before they even are completed. They're selling products they haven't even developed fully. So look at crowdfunding campaigns. People are getting paid for products that they haven't even created yet. They're getting funded for them. So really, you want to be in sync. We want to be in sync across the departments. But as we look at from the marketing side, the user story is a really great framework that you can use to do short targeted tests to gauge interest from the market.
Got it. A couple of other questions which are somewhat related in the way that different functions interact. One of them is, can you speak to the relationship of user experience and marketing? Who defines the personas?
Yeah, great question. So who defines the persona or the type of customer you're trying to reach out to? Thinking back to my experience working in large organizations with many different teams from systems technology, different IT departments, I'm trying to remember if I ever encountered someone from marketing. And I'm pretty sure the answer is no. The only exception to that is I worked with a company in Chicago that had a Toastmasters group. So they started a professional speaking group, and we met over lunch, and I finally met someone in marketing through a company-sponsored event, which was the Toastmasters group. And other than that, in the last 10 years, I can't even think of ever talking to anybody in marketing because there's so many layers in these large organizations. This is exactly why we need Agile in marketing, because we need people in different departments to understand the concepts, to understand the collaborative need, and we need representatives from each of these different departments to be in sync. And that's not happening these days in many environments. Now, there may be some exceptions, but we often have, just like you said, we have this one team or group that's responsible for the user experience or the design. Well, but then how does that get translated? Is it a document that's passed over to the development team? Does that ever even make it to marketing? I'm not aware of that. I usually feel like the marketing department's operating independently, and that's not helping us. That's not helping anyone, right? So as we are starting to introduce the Agile approach and this mindset to the marketing department, we can now start to bridge that gap between IT and the business because we need to be on the same page. So at your organization, you may have a specific team that's responsible for that. You may say this is the group that does that part. You may have a more agile type of environment where it's self-organized. People say, hey, what makes sense? So it might be different from company to company exactly who has that responsibility. But what I think is not working is when you have the teams developing something on one side, and then you have other teams putting together marketing campaigns, and they're not talking. Because my teams, I just don't ever remember them seeing someone from marketing. So what we're doing here is we're bridging the gap. And we're saying, marketing, they do personas. They look at which customers are they trying to reach. But we're looking to bridge the gap to actually connect them with the development team because we need to know we need to dig deeper than we have in the past and really think about who can benefit from the product rather than just who could we sell it to.
A couple of other questions. So somebody who's actually from the museum industry. So that's, I don't know if you've dealt with anyone in that industry in the past, but that should be an interesting industry to work with. There's a question about, have you had any cases in the hospitality and the tourism industry and in governance?
So there's a lot of different industries we've worked with, and one of the things that we've seen is that the concepts apply across the board. So we've worked with several companies that were selling products, some companies that even have services. So what we've been able to figure out from what we've seen is that the concepts really do relate across the board. So as for that industry, you can still look at the same approach because it is a framework. It's still a framework that applies. And what we found as a commonality is that a lot of the times, most organizations, regardless of the industry, they are trying to promote the benefits. And that's where we're seeing the missed opportunity, because there could be some results, and there are some results, but there could be a missed opportunity because we're not truly connecting. So when you look at the problem you're trying to solve and then go very niche into that specific persona and then do the short tests, it's the same cycle that you would work with, whether it's the hospitality industry, whether it's service, whether it's product, whether it's, when we started working with a dentist, we launched the case study program after we started seeing this incredible output from the coffee company. And the first guy that we worked with was a dentist, and he was like, guys, I don't think my clients are online if I run an online campaign because they pay with Medicare. And we said, well, here, let's just try it. Let's just go through, trust the process, trust the approach. Let's see what happens. And he sold over $35,000 on his first campaign. That is a huge win because it was very minimal dollars invested. So what we found here, and we worked with a guy in the trucking industry, completely different, because the problems that you're going to uncover for your ideal customer are going to be specific to your industry. Then the benefit of the solution and the way that you put that together, and then the way you run the short cycles of testing, that's going to be the same approach, but all of the specifics are going to be customized to your industry. So yeah, this could absolutely apply in the hospitality industry.
Right, absolutely. I'm going to take one potentially last question, I guess. The question is, collaboration is not the same as compromise. Do you see this as a risk in your approach?
Collaboration is not the same as compromise. Interesting. Collaboration is not the same as compromise. Yeah, I'm wondering which you think is better. But, when you look at the approach that we're using, the reason that we talked about the Agile Manifesto is really just to emphasize the need to get empirical data. So if we're collaborating on here's what we think we need to do, or we're compromising to say, well, here, let's try this. Either way, whatever approach we use, whether it's pure collaboration from the team and equal voice, or if we're just saying, hey, let's compromise and try something, regardless of how we come to that something that we try, we just want to get something done enough to put out there. So it's not necessarily, how, I think the focus may be not necessarily on, as the team's collaborating, should we be doing that or should we be compromising? How are the dynamics working there as a team? Because if the team's self-organizing, if you're regularly retrospecting or reflecting on how to improve, you're going to be talking about how to get better as a team. Regardless of how you get that output out there, put something out there, get it done, and then reflect on how that worked. So it's unique to each team how teams work. Some things work for some teams that don't work for others. Newer teams might need to be guided more. More high-performing teams may be able to self-organize flawlessly or fluidly. So yeah, if you look at how the team works, I'd want to shift the perspective to say, let's try one way and let's see what the output was. Now let's try the other way and let's see what the output was. I just want to split test everything. So yeah, team dynamics get a little bit intricate here, but remember that we're getting back to the core values of Agile. We're really looking at that mindset shift. We're focused on getting things done, and through empirical data, we're discovering what to do next. And that's really what Agile marketing is all about, to get us twice the results in half the time.
Let me take one final question. This is about any kind of an Agile marketing canvas. Are there any Agile marketing canvases or canvas templates available? Do you have something that's available from your end, Maria?
Yes, we do have an Agile marketing canvas. In fact, we found that is very helpful for getting things visible. So what I can do, if anyone would like that, actually we could probably just send a follow-up email to everyone, or go to agilemarketingcertification.com/case study, and if you'd like to learn more, you can reach out to me through there, and we can definitely share Agile Marketing Canvas with everyone.
Absolutely, and I have shared that link on the chat, so everybody who's still in the session can see that, and we will make sure to put that link in the follow-up email that we send out as well. And I just wanted to mention that in our Swift Kanban tool as well, if you sign up for a free trial, there is a marketing template that's available too. And if you're interested in, trying to use that, you can use that. And Maria, as we've been talking, I'm definitely very interested to see if we can collaborate on putting together something that could be a joint template from our side, both of us. That's available on Swift Kanban as well. So look
Oh
forward to it.
yeah, that would be awesome. Let's do that.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that, let me end the webinar here. I know that many of you have had to leave, but for those of you who stayed back, thanks a lot for your time today. Maria, I'm sure everybody enjoyed your talk tremendously. Me in particular, it was really great to hear you present. We will follow up with emails to everyone with links to the slides and to the webinar recording. And hope to hear from many of you, both in terms of your agile marketing plans and how you plan to extend them based on Maria's talk today. And if you have any questions around tooling for agile, shoot us an email here at Digite as well. Maria, thanks again. I hope you enjoyed the talk.
Thank you. Yeah, it's great to be here.
All right. Thanks a lot, everybody, and have a great day. And hopefully we'll see you all soon in another webinar. Thank you. Bye-bye.